Yo, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on this 2018 Toyota Sienna right here. You guys might remember this one from the fog light video, and it's back today because we're going to be doing front and rear brakes on this one. Now I'm going to run through this one pretty quick, guys, because today we're going to be doing what they call a pad slap in the automotive industry. Now what that is pretty much take off the old pads, put the new ones on there, and that's it. Do not touch the rotors, do not resurface rotors, do not even clean the rotors, just slap the pads off, slap them on, and that's it. Now we're also going to be talking throughout the video if this is a correct way to do it, is this a wrong way to do it, when can you not get away with resurfacing rotors. So stay tuned, let's go on to the video. Alright guys, first things first, I'm going to jack up the vehicle, remove the front tires. We're going to start with the front brakes, then we'll move our way to the back brakes, and I'll be giving you guys some tips and tricks as we go along. So let's go to the front brakes. Leftover fireworks. First tip of the day, always use a jack stand if you're working at home. Do not just rely on the jack itself, because this is only hydraulic pressure holding up the van. This is about 3 to 4 tons that will land on your face if you're not careful. Let's go to the other side. Alright guys, tip number 2. If you're working on your truck, your car, your van, whatever it is, and you notice that your socket fits tight around those lug nuts, it's because you might have a chrome cover around those wheel lug nuts that it's making your socket fit a little bit tight. So what you need to get yourself is a socket like this. This one is a 21.5 on one side and a 22.5 on the other side. This Toyota right here requires a 21mm socket, but because it has those chrome covers on the lug nuts, you need that 21.5 to give you that extra bit of wiggle room to remove those lug nuts right there. Alright, now I have another one right here. This one is an 18.5 and a 19.5 on the other side. I'm going to be doing a giveaway today for these 2 sockets right here. These are brand new sockets, never been used. Alright, so stay tuned, keep watching the video. I'm going to be telling you what you need to do to enter this giveaway, so keep watching the video. Let's go. This is that little chrome cover that I'm talking about. This is what they add around the lug nut to make it look a little bit nicer on your wheel. So if you have this chrome cover, you're gonna need that 21.5, that 22.5 to get these off. A lot easier. All right, on to the brake pads. R&R simple pad slap coming up. Let's go. All right guys, the very first thing you want to do when working on your brakes is you want to turn this all the way to the right. Make sure that your steering wheel is unlocked so that you can turn this all the way to the right. We're going to be removing these 2 14mm caliper bolts. So let's do that real quick. Alright guys, 2 14mm bolts right here holding on that caliper to the caliper bracket. Now we can remove the caliper, and I'm going to lay it on top of the rotor. If your brake pads did not come with hardware, make sure you keep the old hardware and reuse it. This one is in pretty good condition. Like I said, this is only a 2018 or a 2019 Toyota Sienna. Everything is fairly new. Alright, here you can see the brake pads, and you can see why we're replacing the brake pads. These little sensors were already touching the rotors and making noise. There was no complaint of vibration. There was no complaint of pulsation. Only noise. So let me show you what the rotor looks like, and this way you can decide if you need to have it machined and resurfaced. Alright guys, looking at the rotor, you can see that there's no heat spots on the rotor. This rotor is not super glazed up. Now what glazing is a mirror image like on this rotor. There's no heat spots on the rotor, so I'm not worried about anything like that. Heat spots are exactly what they sound like, heat spots on the rotor, which comes from the customer riding the brake, causing the rotor to overheat, and it creates little heat spots around the rotor. I'll put an image right here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. There's no fat lip right here on the rotor that I'm worried about. This customer was not complaining of brake pulsation or brake vibration, and that is another reason why I'm not going to resurface these rotors. The more that you resurface a rotor, the more life you take away from it. The thinner the rotor is, the less it is able to dissipate any heat. So at this point, I am calling this a pad slap. We're going to be okay with it. I don't have to resurface the rotor. I am not worried about pulsation, vibration. I'm not worried about noise. I'll be sure to lubricate all the spots where the brake pad touches the hardware. And I'm also going to lubricate the guide pin so that everything slides in and out as it should, and there is no chance of anything seizing up when braking. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and put the pads on, and we're going to put everything back together. Alright, so I got a new set of brake pads right here. You guys can see these are brand new. They do not come with any kind of hardware, so I'm going to have to reuse all the hardware that is on the old pads. We're going to transfer it over, and then we're going to lubricate everything and put everything back. Alright, so you can see I transferred over the little anti-rattle clips onto the new brake pads. Now these go on top of the brake pad or on the bottom, and they slide right in here. Now what those are going to do is they're going to prevent the brake pad from moving up and down, just like so, and give you this little rattling noise. Alright, so that is what these clips are for right there. So very, very important. Make sure you put them on there. Don't just take them off and throw them away. If you have to reuse the old ones, reuse the old ones. Now I'm going to put a little bit of lubrication right there, a little bit of lubrication down here, and then we can put the brake pad in there. That's why they call it slapping the pads. Here's the outer one, a little bit of lubrication on that clip because it's going to be touching the other metal. A little bit of lubrication down here so that it slides freely when sliding in and out. And we'll just slap this on here. Make sure you do this right here. That's why they call it a pad slap. In there, good. Okay, now we have these two little chingaderas that looks like little V's. This one goes up here on top, and the other one goes on the bottom. Make sure they're spread out like this. Make sure they're not squeezed in like that, because then they're going to defeat the purpose. What these are here for is so that when you put them on the brake pads like this, these keep the pads away from the rotor a tiny bit, and it'll keep the pads from riding on the rotor, and that's going to prevent the rotor from overheating, and it's not going to give you any more brake problems down the road. If you did not get new ones, make sure to reuse them, but make sure they're spread out like this so that they actually do its job. You can see right here how these clips are actually keeping the pad away from the rotor just a tiny bit. Once you step on the brakes and the caliper squeezes on the rotor, they're going to be like that, but these clips are here so that when you release the brake pedal, they actually don't ride on the rotor. That's going to keep the rotor from overheating. It's going to give you less problems down the road, and your brakes are going to last a lot longer. Okay, another tip for you guys. Once you're already here, remove this caliper guide pin. You can see all that grease right there. Now, if this was an older vehicle, this will be a lot drier. This is pretty good. 2018 Toyota Sienna. This thing is not that bad, but you still want to give it a quick wipe down, just like so. And then put some more brake grease on there. Just like that. That's going to help the caliper slide freely left and right as you're braking. Okay, now as I'm putting it in, I'm turning it and I'm rotating it so that the grease gets distributed evenly to the entire guide pin. You can see how freely it moves. That's how it's supposed to be. There you go. You can see how good it slides. Now after this, we just put our caliper back on. Alright guys, now it's time to put the caliper back onto the brake pads, onto the rotor. And another misconception, or another big debate that we have in the automotive industry is, do we open this bleeder valve when we push these pistons back in? And the answer is yes, you should do it that way, but I've done it, and many of you guys have done it without opening that bleeder valve. And you just go ahead and push your tool in here, and you push the pistons back slowly. Until the piston bottoms out. Now what this is doing is pushing all the fluid, all the brake fluid back up to the master cylinder. There is a very, very, very slight chance that you push brake fluid up and it ruins some of the seals. I've done this for over 10 years and I've opened the valve maybe 2 or 3 times, never ever having a problem with these brakes. So if you're pushing the brake fluid back up and you're not opening the valve, is that a problem? Now I want to see what you guys think about this, and leave me your honest opinion down in the comments below. Alright, now I know that the right way to do it is to open the valve and let the fluid escape through here, but done it like this many years and I've never ever had a problem. So now the caliper goes back on. These two 14mm bolts go back on. Now you want to make sure they grab on a couple threads before you go ahead and hit it with the gun. And that's it. Front brake pad slap on this 2018 Toyota Sienna. I'm gonna go do the other side real quick, then we'll jump over to the back. Alright guys, we're gonna do the other side. We're gonna run through this one pretty quick because it's gonna be the same thing as the other side. So let's go. Lug nuts, wheel to the left so that you can access the caliper and work on it. Caliper out of the way. The old hardware. Remove the old hardware from these old pads and transfer it over to the new pads. But you're not supposed to use old hardware. But we have no choice. Old hardware on new brake pads right there. Now we're gonna lubricate a little bit. Anything that's gonna be metal to metal contact, you want to lubricate. So top and bottom of the brake pads where they will be touching the hardware. Alright, so top of that right there, a little bit of lubrication. And a little bit on the bottom, like so. Now we put these back onto the caliper housing, lubricated. Pad slap. I'm gonna clean it up. Some new fresh lube on there. Rub it on there and stick it back inside. And make sure that it slides freely after this. Same thing for the bottom one. Wipe off all that old grease and then put new grease on there. Pop it back into place. You don't want to overdo it with the grease either, just enough to help it slide top and bottom. We're good. I'm gonna put the link down in the description. If you guys want to pick one of these up, it'll make your life a whole lot easier. Just squeeze and squeeze slowly. Remove it. Do not forget to reinstall your hardware. Remember, that keeps your pads from riding on the rotor. Drop the caliper back into place. Reinstall the 14mm bolts and zap it, and that's it. Alright guys, we're gonna be moving on to the back side of this fan. It is pretty much identical as the front, so we're gonna run through this with a quick homie Hektor edit. Let's go. There it is. New pad, no hardware. A little bit of lube on there. Here's the bottom guide pin. Give it a quick wipe, put the pads back on. And a quick slap. That's why they call it a pad slap. Give it a little Scotty Kilmer. And that's it. Let's go to the other side. Scotty Kilmer. And we're good. Alright, so the last thing you want to do is once you have all the wheels on, you want to come in the car and just pump your pedal like 20 times. It's going to be soft at first, and then once it starts getting hard and it can no longer get any harder, then you're good to go. You can start your car up. You've depleted all the vacuum in the booster. The brake pedal is firm. Then you can go on a test drive and be good to go.
One little boost to the surface later.
And we're back from the test drive, guys. You can see right here behind me, 2018 Toyota Sienna. We did a quick patch slap on this van. Now I know a lot of you guys are against patch slapping. You guys don't like to do that. Some of you guys always require rotor resurfacing, but I just proved to you guys that you do not need to resurface every single time. You as a tech have to make the call when it's good to resurface, when it's not good to resurface, when it's time to replace rotors. Now that's going to depend on, do the rotor have heat spots? Are they still within specs? Can I resurface this lip? Can I resurface enough to get rid of the vibration without going below specs? A lot of things come into play. Your repair is going to depend a lot on what the customer concern is. So if a customer comes to you with vibration issues and you know that it comes from rotors, then you have to decide whether you can still resurface that rotor and keep it within specs to get rid of the vibration, or if it's time to replace new rotors. This is a 2018 Toyota Sienna and this was a first brake job, so rotors was not an issue. I knew that the customer had a brake noise concern. Now that's when you got to start thinking. When you start questioning your customer, you start thinking, all right, he has brake noise. Does it come from cracked brake pads? Does it come from hardware rubbing? Does it come from cheap brake pads, something caught in there? You know, you have to decide already. Once a customer comes at you with a complaint, you have to decide and start thinking ahead of the customer, so that when you start taking things apart, you know when something jumps out at you, you know that was a problem from the beginning. So this one didn't have vibration, it didn't have pulsation issues, only brake noise. So I knew that rotors was not going to be an issue, and I made the call not to resurface. Just a quick pat slap, and that got rid of the problem. So you guys got to make the call and see if resurfacing is good for you or not, or tell me down below, guys, do you guys resurface every time? Does your shop require you to resurface? Do they let you make the call? Because I know I work for shops where they tell you to resurface every time. There was one shop that got pretty bad too. They wanted us to resurface every time we opened up a new rotor. A new rotor, take it out of the box and go resurface it. That was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But they wanted you to do it because one time a brand new rotor came out, it was warped, and we had to resurface it to fix a customer's issue. There's also been times when we resurface rotors, we put on cheap brake pads, Wagner, and you get brake noise right away because of the cheap brake pad material. So it's not just rotors, there's a lot of factors that come into play. It's rotors, it's brake pads, it's hardware, it's lack of lubrication, it's over tightening, it's a lot of things that come into play. So drop your comments down below, guys. Let me know what you guys think about the video, what you guys liked, didn't like, and now let's go to that giveaway. Alright, so for the giveaway, I said I was going to give away these two flip sockets. These are from Steelman. Can you guys see? Yep, Steelman. Alright, this is 18.5, 19.5, 21, and 22.5. If you're working on cars, these are a must-have to remove lug nuts. A lot of you guys already know that. You guys probably already have these, but if you know a tech that doesn't have any and you want to go ahead and hook them up, all you got to do is like the video, drop a comment down below, and at the end of your comment or at the beginning, include the hashtag chingadera right there. If you guys know, you know, hashtag chingadera, and you'll be entered for this giveaway. I'm going to be announcing the winner next video, so make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that little bell so that you're notified when the next video comes out to see if you are the giveaway winner of these two flip sockets, 18.5, 19, 21, and 22.5. Alright, these are a must-have for automotive, especially if you're taking tires off day in and day out. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for the video. I'm going to cut it right here. Like, comment, subscribe, and then I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.